Hello, world. Hey, brown chicken. Just me and my little dog here enjoying a cup of coffee, waiting for lunch. 2-4. Nova Scotia's finest. Man, I tell you, you got some fine, fine people up there. My little dog. My little dog, he wanted up my lap. Now he's here and he don't know what to do. Hey, sick. Well, I'm hoping everybody's having a good Sunday. Here it is, 4 more days to Christmas. Is the audio good? I mean, can you hear me? Jim Reynolds. Hello, buddy. Well, my dog wanted to get down. Audio's good. Okay, thanks. Well, my hair, I tell you. Um, I normally, when I get out of the shower, I blow dry my hair. And the hair dryer has been put in use by the little lady around the house here, and hers burned out. Women burning out a hair dryer for a woman ain't nothing big. Well, we got 6 folks in here. Um, I know everybody's a lot of people are off, and when I was working for the company, we got off for 14 days every Christmas. You know, we'd take off the week of Christmas, and we'd be off until after the first. We'd get 14 days. What reason being in a production company, instead of taking off on Lincoln's birthday, Washington's birthday, Robert E. Lee birthday, whatever, instead of taking off those different birthdays during the year, we collected them, 14 of them at the end of the year. And most all of us, including me, when December rolled around, our asses would be flying out there. We'd go to Maui, or we would we would go somewhere and get the hell out of the rain. We needed sun, man. I'm gonna tell you, I went to Hawaii, and now we were staying on Waikiki Beach. We were at the Hilton overlooking the beach, and it was really, really a nice setup. And so we had to go down. We were on the 15th floor. We had a suite, and so I had to go down because we was on the 15th floor. I had to go down to I'm sorry, down to the 14th floor to get ice. Our machine was broken, you know, for our ice bucket. So I hop in this outdoor elevator. Elevator is glass on the wall, outside wall, and you're seeing all this beautiful beach as you're going down in the elevator. Well, when you look at the glass, it's sort of reflective. And I had 4 beautiful women in the elevator with me. They was already in it when I hopped on. And when I was kind of looking in the mirror, I could see the 4 beautiful ladies. And then I saw Old Mac with his lily white skin. I tell you, actually, my skin glowed. It was so damn white. And I had yellow bathing trunks on, and white, lily white skin. I looked like the Walking Dead. Boy, we soaked up the sun. Um, we we stayed down there a couple of weeks and really um, got in a lot of sun. We were over, I think, on International in near Pearl Harbor. I think it was called International Boulevard or whatever. And we were eating at McDonald's in the upstairs balcony overlooking the street, the street, and there was all these beautiful tropical birds, and we were taking and picking our sesame seeds off the buns and feeding the little birds, and they would come up, meet out of your hand, and oh my God, that's as close to heaven as you're gonna get. I mean, of course, I could have caught 10,000 tropical diseases, but I didn't give a damn. I love the fact that you could feed the birds while eating lunch. In fact, you had to take the back of your hand and shoo the birds away from your hamburger. They they were just flying up off. They weren't pigeons now. These are tropical birds. Beautiful animals. Hey, Rob, an S&S contracting. I'm just busy yakking and not paying attention to the board. Yeah, and please forgive me the wet, stringy looking hair, but I said, well, I'm going to get on the air and not even worry about it. Why, I'm surprised I ain't naked. Well, everybody, I think I think we all have a lot to be thankful for. Our winter here has been just beautiful. I mean, we've had a couple of cold nights, but Lord, it's going to be 75 degrees. Well, the weather shows it's going to maybe, where's my phone? Oh, the phone's up there. Um, the weather is going to be 75 degrees on Christmas Day, maybe even higher because I live in a valley. I live on a hillside in a valley. In other words, everything from my property goes downhill to the river. And man, my sister, she came out. There's a video here on YouTube when my sister come to visit me. I believe in 1997 or 98. Um, we went out and barbecued on the back deck, and she had just flew down from Seattle, Washington, and she was just basking in the sunshine. We're so blessed down here now. I know, Rob, you've had a cold snap with some snow and stuff, but you've got unusually warm weather uh, at times. Look at Washington State. It's washing away. That they call a thing. They call it an atmospheric river, and now that atmospheric river has moved down into Northern California, and they're going to be in for 8 or 10 days of horrendous rain in the north. Now, our winter goes in spurts. Now, come January, um, we can have 2 or 3 days of cold weather. March is pretty unpredictable here in the southeast because that's our tornado season, and you get the cold Arctic air coming down the Mississippi Valley, meeting our tropical Gulf of Mexico weather, heat off the water, and you get some pretty violent storms starting in March. Now we have tornadoes year round. In fact, very few people would know this, but when was it? It was Friday night. Friday night, a tornado was in my neighborhood, and it did damage up there where Joe lives, up in that area. You don't know where Joe lives, but he's on another hillside. Um, and they got weather all up through there. In fact, I got my tornado alert went off, and so I quickly went over to look at the maps to see where it was at, and it was coming down our river, Mulberry River, over there. And so anyhow, here it is in December, and one of the biggest storms to hit Alabama. It destroyed the Boeing aircraft factory in Huntsville, Alabama. That was like in '98 or somewhere back in the 90s there, it tore them up. And then when we got down here in 97, that spring, it hit Enterprise, Alabama, and tore the high school up, killed all them kids down there. That was January. So that we don't have it, we can have a tornado any month of the year. It's not a seasonal thing, but it becomes more intense starting in February. I'm sorry, starting in March through June, because just about the time you're glad to see the tornadoes coming down, that's when the hurricanes come in. and, and if you're lucky and don't get eat up by a alligator or bitten by a water moccasin or a brown recluse, you've had a good year. There's Cuddy right there. Hello, Cuddy. It's gonna be 77. Well, let me get my phone. I can tell you what it is right now. Ah, let me get over here. We're a cool 54 degrees, but it's going to be warmer this afternoon. Anyhow, 55. So you just went up one more degree, 55. It's going to be warmer this afternoon. Make sure I didn't miss anybody over there. My apologies if I do, because I'm busy talking and I forget to read. Uh, oh, it won't be warm in Wisconsin, well, until April. We lived in I was stationed in Montana, and I was stationed over at Malmstrom Air Force Base in Great Falls, but they moved me into the interior of Montana, and we had those things called Chinooks. A Chinook wind would come in; it would be cold, extremely cold, and then a Chinook would come in, and it would go up to 70 degrees in that between the two snowy mountain belts. The Snowy Mountains is two mountainous regions in the Rockies. And yeah, when the Chinooks come in, people will go, we're in for some trouble now, because first the Chinook would come in and get warm, and then the Arctic blast would come down, because when it gets warm, it would bring the moisture in, and then the Arctic winds came, and then 3 feet of snow, 70 below zero. Yeah, we used to go out in GSA vehicles, and they would give us an emergency. We had blankets, and we had MREs, and we had a heating source. It was alcohol, a stainless steel pan, and gauze. You'd soak the gauze up, and in this pan of alcohol, and you would light it, and it would just that gauze would wick up the alcohol. It was sitting there, and you could warm your hands, and when the alcohol was burning, it didn't poison the air like gasoline, and it wasn't as volatile. But we used alcohol to warm our hands, get it on fire, warm our hands, and yeah, we had some cold times there in Montana. Um, I was leaving Montana on my last mission, they gave me a new 1979 Dodge. It was brand new. GSA just brought them out. And what they did, they had the engine block plugged in. And, but unfortunately, it warmed the engine block up, but it was 68 below zero. And the heater coil inside the truck was frozen. Well, as soon as I started up, I didn't know the coil had split inside. I started the engine, and once everything got warm and the thermostat opened up, all that hot water came, and then it went directly to that hole. It spewed steam inside the truck. And at 68 below zero, all that steam froze solid on the inside of the windshield. So I had to roll my window down and drive back to Lewiston. Lewiston was the base where we was based out of Lewistown, Montana. And the old ears got cold, I gotta say, and I had a beard in those days. Um, that beard frosted over because my breath would blow on my beard and everything was all frozen up. Old Mac was a sight, let me tell you. Make sure I didn't miss anybody. Oh, chasing ghosts. Hello, chasing ghosts. I'm sorry, you squeezed in between 2-4 and brown chicken. Merry Christmas to all those that we might have missed on the Christmas wishes. Yeah, we tomorrow. I was going to wait till after the first of the year, but tomorrow we're going to get a new set of tires for my pickup truck. When I was up there having my brakes put on the truck, the guy said, "Man, your tires need to be replaced." I said, "Sir, they got great tread." He said, "Yeah, but the sidewalls are dry rotted." I bought those tires new for my wife in 2016, and she never drove much, and we never drove it in at all. And after she passed on, I started driving the truck occasionally, hauling my bike around and stuff, and so I had to replace the brakes on it, and that's when they told me my tires were dry rotted. Well, coming home from lunch the other day, I noticed that there's a vibration and in the tires, and so anyhow, I said, well, instead of waiting out to the first of the year, I don't want to be broke down during Christmas. So I called around and I found a set of tires. The guy, when he put my brakes on, he said he'd put me a set of Michelin's on for 1400, and so we should have done it then, but we dilly dallied around, and so I called the guy and I made an appointment for Monday. He couldn't get to me Friday. It was too well. I guess a lot of people are doing the same thing during the holidays. They might be changing out their snow tires or putting more of a mud and snow tire on some of their pickup trucks. And anyhow, I gotta go in Monday in the morning and get a set of tires. And he said, "Well, I got 60,000 mile tires on there now, and they don't have that many miles on them." And the guy said, we got 65,000 mile now. We got this. I go, "Sir, I'm 85 years old. What the hell would I need with tires with that many miles?" I said, I said, 60,000 mile tires would be fine. Like if I had 60,000 miles left in me. Oh God. Anyhow, so anyhow, they're going to get that all squared away, and then we're going to go to lunch Monday. Now we're going to go to lunch also on Thursday, but Monday we're going to go to lunch. We're going to try out a couple of new places, and uh, there's a couple of new places we want to try out. We're not going to try them out both on the same day, but we're going to give one a try out Monday. We're always looking for a kind of a new place to eat. In fact, it seems like our whole life evolves around eating. Ain't nothing wrong with that, but it just, we live so far away from a restaurant, you have to plan to go do it. You have to make a trip. Oh, you never know. I, I only want to be here when my mind is functioning and my body functions well enough for me to get around. I don't want to be a wheelchair person. We've already done that. You know, when I broke my right leg and both bones in the right leg, uh, it slowed me down quite a bit. But I was 82 years old when I broke my leg, so um, we got over it. We're getting over it, but no, quality of life is only when you're living. Sitting watching TV ain't living. You know, sitting, just sitting. My mother, she lived to be 89, and she was a person that loved to go. I moved her from Washington State, and I rented one of those Penske diesel trucks to move us. And so when I packed all of our stuff, she said, "You got room for my stuff?" And she sold her home and loaded up with me, and I moved her back to Alabama. My cousin had a house up near where my sister owns a house up there, and we moved her into my cousin's house, and she stayed there until she got where she couldn't stay by herself anymore. But she traveled, she'd climb up in that truck. She she couldn't hardly get, you know, you got your saddle tanks and you got your steps going up. She was a little bit afraid of it, so I'd go around and I'd put my hands on her butt and push her up into the seat. Like I was doing push-ups, you know, and, she'd get up in that thing and she'd ride along there, and after a while, she'd tell me, she said, "Well, it's you gotta find a truck stop." And, you know, I think behind the the truck, I was pulling a, tandem axle, 16-foot 16 or a 20-footer with my pickup truck. I built a, hot rod pickup truck, 650 horsepower, 502 cubic inch big block engine in it. It was on the trailer in the back, and it was loaded down too with all my ham equipment and all that stuff, and we had made a good trip. She was a good traveler. One time, my mother had surgery, and I had planned to take a trip from, hang on, it's noon. Now, I had planned to make a trip from Madera County. That's over in the San Joaquin Valley in California. We were living in Chowchilla. And my plans was to go to Alabama. And the word got out, and my mother's called me. She said, "I want to go too." I said, "Mother, you just had surgery. I think I can make it." I go, "That's a long ways. We don't travel. We don't, back in our day, uh, my brother and I, we would drive all the way through. We never stopped. We never stopped in no motels or none of that stuff. We would, when we got where we was going, we'd take a bath, change clothes and whatever, because it was only like a 2 or 3 day trip from California to Alabama. And the way we drove, I had a Plymouth Fury, and it had a 361 Golden Commando engine. That son of a gun would run. And so anyhow, she crawled in the car with me and my brother, and off we went to Alabama. And she stayed at her sister's house, and me and old Robert, we went down to Orlando and on down into Florida and just messed around, had a good time. Hello, Key Fob. I love watching things that you do. You got a really interesting place. I went and looked at lagoon up that you was talking about. I went on Google Earth and I looked that lagoon up, and it has interesting history. And yeah, you got some fascinating things around there. As long as you don't run across any of those big old rattlesnakes that you killed. Hey, Road King 2K1. Anyhow, we made that trip down to Alabama, and I dropped her off at her sister and near Birmingham, and then we went on down to Florida, and and my cousin hopped in the car with us, and we went down and visited his sister in Florida. Went down and did some gambling, and we were three playboys on the loose, and oh man, we had a good time. Uh, yeah, those are some great memories. And she held up well. My mama had and what it takes to be a survivor. She had endurance. Excuse me. And if I'm fortunate enough to live as long as she did, because she lived kind of up to the end. Things went bad in the last couple of years there, but um, hey, like when you go to your favorite bar, the evening is rolling along good, and life is sweet, and the music is good. The beer is flowing, or your scotch, your rum, or whatever you're into, and the dancing, the beautiful girls you're dancing with. Life could not be any better. But when it comes closing time, your ass will be out the door. That's the way it is with life. When it comes to closing time, man, just don't put up a struggle. Just go with the flow. That's what we're going to do. Hopefully, it would be more dramatic, and if I sense this is going to happen, look like it's a real traumatic ending of my life, I'll have Angelique to record it because it'd be entertaining to see old Mac go out kicking and clawing. I don't want to go. I don't want to go. But, uh, or if we're around long enough, people will have forgotten this conversation. Uh, oh, oh, uh, you know, I think he, I think you're talking about the cowboy candy. Uh, I've never had it. I've had habanero jelly. I've had jalapeno jelly. We bought that in Tennessee, and that was dang good. I mean, it's like fire and ice. Oh, my sister Connie was on the trip. My s I'm old, I'm starting to forget stuff, but she was on the trip. She was a little old girl, 15 years old. Yeah, mother and her stayed at, my aunt's house. "Hello there, Mr. Benson." Ben Timpson. Ben Tipton. You haven't jumped out of any airplanes today, have you? Oh, we we had sausage this morning. Angelique was gonna fry me up some sausage, and I told her, I said, "When you roll the patty out, mix me some, chili powder in it. You roll that chili powder in it." And and she did, and so when she brought it in, I cut off a chunk of it and eat it, and, oh, it was good. We had that Jimmy Dean sausage, but if you add that chili powder to that Jimmy Dean sausage, it really makes it flavorful. I don't care about the hot thing, it's the flavor I'm looking for, and so I cut her a piece, and she ate it, and the more you chewed it, the more more of the sausage came alive in your mouth. And so we did. We had some sausage this morning with chili powder, and now we take hamburgers. We take hamburgers, and what I do, we chop up jalapeno and we saute it in the skillet, kind of like sear it, cook it in some bacon grease, and then take this bacon grease and the jalapenos and put it in the beef, your ground beef, and then we roll it up and we make beef patties, hamburger patties with these sort of sautéed jalapenos in them, slices, and they're really good. I like them cooked. I like jalapenos cooked better than raw. I eat them raw, but it's kind of like eating a bell pepper with an attitude. But when you cook them, it brings all the flavor out. What I do when we go to the Chinese restaurant, I'll take that little old spatula and I'll dig around in there till I get every piece of that jalapeno out of that big old pot of chicken or beef. If it's some like Mongolian beef with jalapeno peppers, I'll dig all them peppers out and I'll put them in a pile on my plate and eat them. I had at the Chinese restaurant, Connie mentioned she's having apple pie this afternoon. At the Chinese restaurant up in Madison, Alabama, that's where we went here last week, up at Madison, which is up 60, almost 70 miles from here, up there for lunch. And we had apple pie, the Chinese apple pie. It's like a apple. Uh, I don't know. It's got a little crust on top and bottom, but it's really good. Chinese don't put a lot of sugar in their apple pie, or not a lot of allspice and stuff like that. It's a little bit more blender than what your mama would make, but it was good. It had raisins in it, which I love my apple pie to have raisins. Well, I hope everybody's got everything in order for Christmas. You know, prepared for it. Lunch, if it's going to be a dinner, we're going out to eat. Our dinner table, I'll tell you the honest God truth. Our dinner table is an 8-passenger oak wood table in there. It's an 8-passenger, 8 people can sit around it. It's got 2 captain's chairs on both ends. It got the arms and all that stuff. We had that furniture built over 30 years ago. And that stuff it was built by the Amish people in Summerton, Alabama, Sumner, Washington, at the Amish factory. And it's really solid built. And being an 8-passenger, it's got 3 or 4 leaves you can put in it, to really extend it out. But we keep it closed down, closed down. That is our catch-all in the kitchen because we don't eat in there. We, everything that doesn't get put away gets on that table. For us to have dinner on that table, it would be an hour's work just unloading everything off that table. Things that goes with the kitchen, but ends up on the table. And we don't eat a lot at home. We do cook occasionally. We eat out more than anything. So we're not eating at the house because that means now I used to enjoy eating around the table and doing the Christmas thing and Thanksgiving thing around the table. But after Ruth was gone, neither one of us has any interest in a 2-person dinner, you know, sitting there, her 30 feet away down at the other end of the table and me up here. Pastor Gravy! When I was a little boy, my daddy took me down me and the family, my brothers and sisters, we went down to visit relatives that lived in the down by the river, and they had land, and they were pretty well off people, and they had a table. This table, you can look them up on the internet. They used to be really popular in the 1800s, early 1900s when you had a large families. Large circular table, and up in the middle of the large circular table, you could put 12 people around the table easily. Big table. But in the middle, it had an island in the middle that you'd put your gravy and your chicken and your cornbread and all them things your whatever you're eating up there, your black eyed peas or whatever, even potato salad, whatever the season is, all that food went up there in the middle. Now, it was just a little bit like an arm reach, right, just about right here. So just an arm reach over there. Uh, Down on the floor, you had a cluster of petals all the way around the table. The Down at the base was probably 3 or 4 foot round down at the bottom, and every around that outside perimeter of the base were these petals. You you push one petal, the center would go to the right. Push the other petal, the center would go to the left. And the rule in their family was once it counter rotated, it would stay counter rotating. None of that because their kids was one time had to be gotten on to because just as one of their cousins about to get some mashed potatoes, they'd kick that pedal and the bowl would go back the other way. And well, anyhow, that was so much fun, sit there and seeing all this beautiful food coming around in the carousel, just circulating around, and you'd see the biscuits way over there, and when the adults see that somebody needs a biscuit, they would push that pedal and rotate it on around, so you can get your biscuit or whatever. And oh, it was fun for kids. You gotta keep in mind that kids are easy to be entertained. Remember this: we're talking about a period of time before TV. It hadn't been well, it had been invented, but it wasn't available yet in our region of the world. And so, television, what that's something nobody even thought about or talked about in the 40s. But that table rotating around was entertainment as much as any TV program. And then another piece of equipment in the house, in every old house, any house you went around, was a Singer sewing machine. It was called a treadle machine. And down on the bottom, now why they call it a treadle, I don't know, instead of a pedal machine, you had this thing that you could rock back and forth, and you'd make the wheel turn and the needle would go up and down, and we could make that thing move 1,000,000 miles per hour until we snapped the needle, and then grandma would come and slap the shit out of you. She'd just slap you away from the table, away from the sewing machine. You don't touch ma's sewing machine. But every time she was out of sight, we'd get on that machine and we'd pump that pedal and make that wheel go real fast. And then she bought my grandma was quite innovative. She always had to have late model stuff. She bought a hand crank wringer for washing your clothes. Um, you would take you had a set of ringers up there, and at the top you had a knob. You could adjust the amount of tension, but you turned the crank here, and it would roll your sheets through the rollers and squeeze the water out. So, all right, as soon as mom got through her doing her washing or whatever, and she wasn't around, if they was gone to town, we'd stick her hand in the roller and let your brother roll it as far as he could roll it and see if you could handle the pain. And when you start screaming and hollering, then he would roll it back and get your fingers off there. And so then the challenge was to see how far you could go with a certain amount of adjustment on the knob. We, that was our entertainment. We didn't have TV. We didn't have Xbox or we didn't have Game Boy. But what we had was that ringer that we could And then other toys, we made our own toys. We'd have a lot of you folks won't know what a Clabber Girl baking powder can is, but there's a popular brand of baking powders in the old days called Clabber Girl, and they came in fairly large cans. You take the lid off that Clabber Girl baking powder can and punch a little hole in the bottom, just a little tiny, take a nail and poke a hole in it. You'd throw you some carbide in that can, carbide in that Clabber Girl can, and then you clamp the lid back on real tight, or you'd spit on the carbide after you put it in there. You spit on it. Put the lid on good. Let it build up a little bit, and then you just stick a match to that hole in the back, and it would blow the lid off. Boom! We would do this until we wore the lid out or blowed the can up, whichever came first. Uh, when you don't have the toys and you have to make your own, you become very innovative. Well, Merry Christmas to you, Connie. I hope you enjoy your gift. We gave up on that gift thing years ago. It becomes so commercialized. It is. I have seen people have a fit because they didn't get the right gift. I have watched, observed family members having a fit because they didn't get the right gift. Instead of accepting the gift, big, little, small, whatever. No, have a goddamn screaming fit over not getting the right gift. Um, I mean, people exchanging the gifts, that is great. Um, now we've tried the gift thing and it just almost never works out. Oh, we find money is more acceptable than a gift. It is not as warm, but people are not into warm like they used to be, where they go, "Oh, that is so precious. Oh, thank you from the bottom of my heart." It might only be a candle. It might be a tie. It might be a pair of socks. But people accepted the gift with a certain amount of gratitude. But people got where they're so picky and they have the choice of stuff. My own family, I'm talking about. I bought my wife Ruth a very expensive fur coat. My sister-in-law called me and said, "Oh, they're closing out the furs because there was such a big outcry about people killing animals to make a human be in a fur coat, that they're going to quit selling fur coats and they're closing out on these furs." So I bought a $1,200 coat. That ain't a lot of money, but it was a fine fur piece. She wore it one time. Basically, it hung over there. I gave it to my buddy Joe. I gave him the coat. He wore it when he'd come over here. I'd give him a 30-30. I had a Winchester 30-30. I would let him have the 30-30, and he'd go out there and he'd put my big Western belt around. I had a 44 Magnum revolver, and he would wear that 44 Magnum with a big old belt buckle in the front, and that wearing that fur coat, and he looked like a mountain man. We made a lot of pictures of him out there of all doing all kinds of things in that coat. I wore the coat when we was up in Birmingham at a comedy club. Ruth wore that coat at one time I'm telling you about. And when she was in there in the club, it was pretty warm. And she said, "Would you hold this thing for me?" And it was big and it was all the way down to the ankles coat. And I ain't talking about a little wrap. It was all the way down to the ankles. So I held it in my lap. I'm holding it like it was like holding on to a grizzly bear, you know. And TX Viking, hey, let me say hello to you before I keep rambling along here and forget where I'm at. Um, so I was holding a big grizzly bear during the comedy club. Well, I have to go take a leak. So, because I drank quite a few rum and cokes at the comedy club. So I get up, instead of leaving the seat all bundled up there in the seat, in the chair, I put it on. So I walked out. I walked out into the front there where you go to the bathroom, and people were snapping the pictures. Here an old gray-headed man coming out of there. Well, back in them days. I had a big beard. That's before I had my cancer. I had a big beard one time. I used to have a big one. So, but the cancer kind of, well, you can see it's eating up all my jaw. I had radiation on both sides of my head with the cancer. Um, I had the surgery. They had to cut the cancer out of my bone in my jaw on both sides. See right here too. There's anyhow. Um, I go out there and they're snapping pictures. I look like Mac Daddy, out on the town. Yeah, Pimp Daddy. Yo, what it be? I be coming out there and doing the walk. Yeah. You know me, I was probably playing to the camera, and yeah, we had a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun with that fur coat that she only wore one time. It wasn't her thing, but I didn't discuss it with her. I wanted it to be a Christmas present, so I didn't discuss it with her. I should have discussed it with her. I'm sure she could have found better use for that $1,200. better than better than wearing a pitiful animal's fur. But anyhow, that's just one of my memories of Christmas. That kind of turned me off on Christmas on buying people stuff because with Angelique, I have bought her a lot of things. Always take it back and get the cash. They'd rather have the cash. It's hard to buy a gift for somebody else. It is for me. I don't ever know what you like. I used to give gifts like a staple, like socks and shoes and pants and shirts, and things that everybody just hates, but it was practical. And back when there was kids, now they got toys. That's a different story. I'm talking about young adults. But each to their own. I like the food, the dinner. Well, actually, it's the reason for the season, celebrating the birth of Jesus. I like that. I like that we have a birthday that unites us together. Look, I gotta look right here. If I can get my finger over there. There's a 51st star right there. That's Motorbomb, Virginia. Uh, every year, Ruth used to make us rum balls, and yeah, we loved them rum balls. And she would make them, and then she'd wrap the rum balls in cheesecloth, and she'd soak down the cheesecloth in 151 rum. And then when it come time to open them up a month or so later, whoo, you had to stand back. They had some heavy fumes on it, and oh, they were just so good. They stayed moist, and yeah, we had quesos this morning on my eggs. I had a egg scrambler. Um, that egg scrambler was so good with that spicy quesos. that we like it almost on everything. In fact, when we make mac and cheese, we put a couple of big dollops of queso in the mac and cheese to give it more cheesy taste. That's cool. Well, too for you. Do you have any snow up there this time of the year, or um, is it is it nice this time of the year for you, or are you able to get out and about? Oh, we don't do birthday gifts anymore either. We try to give throughout the year, give in many ways rather than just a gift. But everybody has their own preference on what they like. Hello, Rocky Queen. Yes, I watched Jabba Jet this morning doing her thing, and I made a comment on there that I thought Jabba Jet was probably all hopped up on coffee. she because she was almost naked. She was almost naked. I was worried about her getting a chest cold. If she ever did get sick and had a chest cold, I wouldn't mind rubbing some Vic Salve on her chest, so it help her to heal up. I'm all about helping. I come over. I've always got so many things going on. I try to spread myself just like you do and everybody else. I try to hit everybody a little bit. The people that's in the family, catch up with them and see what's going on. Sometimes I watch them on TV. See, it's kind of a little bit. My controller, I have my new TV over. I can have her, which I haven't done. I can have my keyboard, my wireless keyboard, so I can sit right here and I can tap on the TV over there and make comments. But right now I don't have that, and you got to use this controller. And anybody that's ever done this, when you want to make a comment on your controller, you got to get up on this box and you got to go up and pick the letters and push it and pick a letter and push it and pick another letter to spell out what you want to say. By this time, while you're doing it, you've missed part of the show. I find that so damn aggravating. Now, I know you can pause the show and then go back and do that, and I've done that as well. But I just hate leaving a message with the remote control for the TV. But on the computer, of course, I always make remarks on the computer if I'm watching it on the computer. I've got a 32-inch monitor here and another big monitor over there that I have them. Well, it's like a wall of, when I see you. All this whole wall is covered up. Whoever I'm looking at. Uh, always wanted to try that. So this year we bought. I had a really high end system right over there. That one over there is a high dollar system. It's got a lot of good stuff in it. Then I got an opportunity to get this one right here because it's got more stuff for my fiberglass, my fiber internet. The fiber it operates in T6, and also all my video stuff is set up to operate on high resolution T6 stuff. So that one don't have it over there, even though it's only a year old computer. It didn't. that it didn't have it. But so I bought this one specifically just so I'd have all that stuff for high resolution stuff. And if you're going to make an effort to doing something, I might well go all out on it. That's the way I look at it. I I hate to think I'm missing out on something. Yeah, I've watched some good stuff in the last couple of days. Enjoy watching other people's content. I even watched some T-Bone. I watched him. I watch a lot of Australian shows. I like the guy that builds diesel. He builds trucks and equipment stuff down there um, in Australia. I just like a variety of things. Now you're probably going to have some more. Well, yeah, you probably got rain that came all the way across the United States from that big atmospheric river that came across the upper portion of the United States, dumped a lot of snow across Montana and the Dakotas, Wisconsin, Minnesota. I wished I had that program, Rocket Queen. I could have some fun with it. I know they probably have some pretty good stuff to write the program, to make it say the words when you call out people specifically. Uh, I would probably do something naughty, but that's just me. I'm hoping Sick is doing well. And I'm happy my baby sister is living down in Florida where she's got beautiful weather and she's got a beach not too far away. It's only a few miles over to the beach. When I went down to visit her last year, um, I took her to the beach on my Harley, and we had a good time out there. It's just a beautiful state park out there, out into the Gulf there. So many beautiful places. I took Angelique to oh, hell. Oh, I'm gonna have to nah, uh, I'll get back up with him later. Yeah, I took Angelique to Honeymoon Island. When you go down to Tampa, when you get to Clearwater, right down in Clearwater, you can go out on this long stretch out through there to Honeymoon Island, and it is beautiful. It's like all the high rises and all the fine hotels and stuff out there. When you ride out there, it's a beautiful ride. We went on the Harley and had a great time. Just had a really good time. I made videos of it, of course. She enjoyed it as well. It was just absolutely a perfect day. It was temperature was in the 70s. When we left here, right here at my house, we left 4 o'clock in the morning. It was 8 degrees, and not 18 now, or not 80, but eight, one digit, 8 degrees when we left my house. And we had had no power for 3 days. And I told her, I said, if we don't come back on tomorrow, we're leaving. That the night before we packed up just in case it was still cold. We left at 4 o'clock in the morning. We got down to my sister's house and it was 74 degrees. Life was good. We got down to where my sister lived. We didn't stay at her house, but we got down there and next day then we went ahead. Angelique and I went down to Tampa and we uh, we just like that part. We like that part of Florida really well. It's a beautiful place to live. We ate a lot of good food down there. And then we had to come back. I called Joe, and Joe said the weather had made a turn. It was 15 degrees. Well, I said, well, that's warm enough for me. So I turned around and when we finished our doing our stuff in Florida, I drove back home and it was 60 degrees when we got home. 60, not 16. It had warmed up considerable. Then it rained like the dickens. And of course, our power come back on. A reason I know my power, see on my camera, I have my security cameras on my camera is on uh, my phone service, and I just brought my camera up, and I can see the temperature at home. So we stayed down there until it warmed up. Hey, American Uncensored. I was watching you the other day, and I don't know if I interacted with you. I might have been on the TV, but I remember about you're a good human being. Old Mac wanted to tell you that in person. You know, you can type on here. You're a good human being. Those are just cold words on a screen. But a person looking you in the eye and telling you you are a good human being, that has quality to it. Well, I'm surprised we still have people hanging in here. I've been here in here for an hour, and I'm going to call her. I'm going to do this till 1 o'clock. So we got about 20 more minutes. We're going to go in and fix lunch. It's 20 to 1 now, so we're going to hang in for another 20 minutes because maybe we'll get time to wish more people Merry Christmas. I should have put my Santa Claus hat on. I do. Well, maybe I do that in a later broadcast when it gets closer to the Christmas. Oh, maybe after I get my hair blow dried, I won't look stringy. Uh, I was born with straight hair, um, and my mother had curly, wavy hair, and I had the straightest hair. I'm telling you, it is like straw. Oh, we told a story in a form of a song about the winter of 1948. I told a story about how hard life was, and my daddy didn't get paid in real money. He got paid in company money. It's called the paper. The paper money from the company store was called script, and the coins that had the company's logo on it was called clacker. And you ain't gonna believe this, but men was being paid script for a long time. You had a little paper dime. You'd tear off a paper dime. You had a paper nickel. This is the way it was with script. But men believed that their self worth would improve if they had some coins in their pocket to jingle. When you reach in your pocket and jingle some coins, you feel like you're not down and out. You got some coins in your pocket. So they went on a strike, and the company issued clacker so that men could rattle that clacker. Well, when the clacker came out, we used to go down there when they'd be shooting dice on the river. All the men, the coal miners, be gathered up around. There'd be in a circle, and they'd be shooting dice. And they'd throw that clacker out there. There's a 50-cent piece. There's a quarter. Whatever they was betting. And man, they'd rake all that clacker up. and they would pay a kid. They'd give him a nickel to gather up the clacker for him. And you'd rake all the clacker and put it in a kind of like a little burlap bag, and then they'd reach in and hand that clacker. Oh man, they was living. Once they got clacker on them, they felt they had some quality in their life. They could ring, they could jingle their clacker, and people's attitude changed. And more, we love clacker too because you can flip a clacker, and we would do gambling. We'd gamble with clacker. You had a head on one side and some kind of a company logo thing on the back side. And you'd flip it. And you'd bet, heads or tails. And that's just the way life was in the coal mining community. Hey, Bodo Alley. Hope everything's good, and I'm hoping you're ready for Christmas. Ah, yeah, we're all either going to have to be getting ready pretty soon because we've only got 4 more days. It'll be in here before you know it. Me, I got to spend tomorrow up at the tire store. Going to get up in the morning. He's going to call me. Um, I, let me know when I can come up. I told him make it somewhere after 10 o'clock, and he said, all right. So sometime after 10, once he finishes up a customer around 10, give me time to drive up there. It's 22 miles up there. We're going to go up and get a set of tires and then have lunch. And she's going to do some shopping. She calls it last minute Christmas shopping. she, uh, she really loves Christmas. We didn't even put up a tree this year. No, we always have had a tree right over there. This will be the first year without a tree. Um, the tree that we always put up, it was a beautiful tree. I bought it, and it was an artificial tree, but it had all these beautiful LED lights and snow and all that stuff. I took it to Washington, to my sister's house in Washington last year. We drove up there and took my Christmas tree and set it up in her living room so the family we can have Christmas up there. But it didn't work out. My Angelique got sick. Then I got sick. And then we had to come home. That was a long drive back because I had to go all the way down to Laredo, Texas. I had to go down to the border because all the mountain passes were closed due to snow. So we had to go all the way to Southern California and cut across on, I think we went down to 10. Yeah, we went down to 10. But we had a good trip. Yeah, I know. I don't have a tree. No, I thought about, what we do. You can look at some of my videos. You'll find when we had the camera set up for the raccoons, I give them Christmas every year. I put a Christmas tree out there, and I put Christmas lights on the deck, and I give them a Christmas nativity scene out there for the raccoons. And I had a big old chair sitting up there, and they would go and sit on the arms of the chairs, and they would go get hands of food and carry it up with them and eat their food that I put out a 80-pound feeder, and they would go dip out of the feeder and take a hands full of that food with them and go over and sit in a chair, and they would sit there and eat that food. And I'd have as many as 30 raccoons out there. And what I did in the spring, every year, we set up the tiki bar for the raccoons. I had a pool out there, a fairly nice pool, wading pool, and I put a bar across the top of it, and I put different cups of food, and the raccoons would get in the water and they would swim and go up there and get up on there and they would eat peanuts, or they would eat various things that I put in the different cups. And they loved it. There'd be sometimes 10 or 12 raccoons in the pool swimming, playing. And then I put later in the summer, I would take the bar off and I'd put a beach ball in the pool, and them raccoons would get in there, play with that beach ball, and hit it and slap it, and it would float around. And they're just like little human beings. They had so much fun out there, you know. My my little baby raccoons, they would come to the door and they would pat on the glass, the storm door. Glass is down at the bottom, and the screen is at the top, and they would pat on the bottom of the door, and they let me know that the feeder was out. There's not a bell or nothing. When it runs out, it just runs out. They eat 80 pounds a week, so they would that automatic feeder. You had to pump it. You had to go out there and fill her up every week. When I went to Washington, I had my buddy Joe to fill the feeder, and he'd come over. My security camera would go off, and I'd look, and there'd be Joe start filling the container up. It takes more than a 50-pound bag to fill it, and yeah, he kept the thing fed, kept it filled for me, so the raccoons got fed. And then I got laid up. I had a wreck, and so I couldn't carry the bags for a while. So we had to wean the raccoons off, and we took down the feeder. But we feed every day. We still feed the raccoons, but we feed them in a smaller batch. We only have maybe 5 or 6 raccoons. They'll eat up 10 pounds a night. I love watching them eat. Uh, yeah, I had a channel dedicated to the raccoons. Yeah, I have quite a bit of fondness for the raccoons. I would go out there, me and my dog Theo. My dog Theo would go over and eat out of the raccoon feeder with the raccoons. I started putting pans of food besides the feeder because, see, the hole in the bottom, you could only have 5 or 6 raccoons eating at one time, and they was always fighting over the feeder. So I started putting pans of food, stainless steel pans, and I've got videos where the raccoons would go over there right next to the pan, and they would get hands. They would lay on their back, reach over the pan, and lay the food on their belly, and eat the food off their bellies with their little hands. Just just reach it, eat it right off their belly, and then fill their belly up again. That is lazy, man. Uh, hey, Crystal Kitten. Hey, man, have a good evening. Merry Christmas to you there, Mona Alley. Hey, you was a wonderful treat for this new year. I met you this year through our biking adventures, and it has been a pleasure. That's what I love about this, the unexpected new people you meet and the friendships that you developed, you know, media type friends, that you really enjoy seeing them. When you see them on the screen, it just lightens you up. I guess a lot of talk has been about the Biffle family. I love that guy. I met him, my nephew Ron, and I was at the. We were in Dallas Fort Worth at the NASCAR track. We'd been over there for about a week. We were staying right there at the big hotel, the Gander Mountain or whatever the thing's called. It's a huge, big hotel there by the track, and it was an occasion where They was doing an interview. Carl Edwards and Jack Rouse was there, and I walked around to get a picture because my favorite driver at the time was Carl Edwards. My second favorite driver at the time was the Biff, and he was out of Washington State, born in Washington State. So we knew about the Biff from his days of racing at Monroe Speedway and various other speed outlets in Washington State, NASCAR events. And Casey Kane, another great driver I liked from out of Washington State. And there was another one lived down by Spanaway, Washington. I can't remember his name, but he's retired from racing now, but he was really good back during the day. But the Biff was a really good human being. He did so much. No, no tree this year. We have decided that it just brings up too many sad memories, and I want to be happy and not sad. That's just us. Well, when I walked up there to get a picture of Carl Edwards with Jack Rouse, the Cat in the Hat. Jack Rouse was my favorite all-time owner before he got with Fenway. I mean, when Rouse Racing, I owned a Rouse Mustang, so I, I'm I was a big fan. I liked everything they did, and then he came out with this FR9 engine, 900 horsepower. That thing was awesome, and that was Fenway Rouse. That's when they come up with the FR9. Well, when I got up there to get the picture, Jack Rouse motioned for me to come over. Now, this is a studio for Fox News, and he was doing an interview. He was getting ready. They was all setting up for the interview. So I go over, and I told him, see, Carl Edwards fixing to retire, and the number six car, Mark Martin, he was one of his key drivers, and I think he was. Yeah, Biffle had been signed, but he was driving, I think, a truck or for Rouse. I think he was driving a truck. But anyhow, Biffle was there. When I got over, Carl Edwards, Jack Rouse put their arm around me, the Fox News, and they interviewed me on the air. Ron, if he was here, he would tell you this. That's Cunny's son, Cunny, that's in here now. We were connected with NASCAR. We was with the Michael Waltrip crew. Me and Ron, we had exclusive NASCAR privileges. We could go anywhere. We could take my camera, go inside the shop. We could go inside the garage with the camera because we was part of the crew. We was with the crew. Michael, the number 55 Napa car, and so I came over. Ron was got his camera running, and they were recording, and so I got to formally meet not only Jack Rouse but Carl Edwards, and the Biff was there, but I didn't get to go over and shake hands with the Biff. They had a lot of interviews to do and all that stuff because anyhow, it was a special time in my life. Yeah, yeah, he took pictures. I've got pictures on the wall of me and Michael Waltrip. I was in the number 55 car. Ron came over there, and they had me all suited up and everything, and Ron took the pictures. Well, then Michael sent the Toyota photographer people, and then they started following me and Ron and picturing us in all kinds of settings. Um, It was really we stayed a week with Michael Waltrip there in Cornelius, North Carolina at the facilities there. Boy, what a good living. We went to supper one night. Supper with the crew that we was with was 2,700 for the alcohol bill. The bill just for the alcohol, not the food now. We was at Benihana or one of those where the It's that beef, not Ragu beef. Before Ragu, there was a special kind of Japanese beef. We was at one of those places where the guy does a trick with holding the egg on the end of a spatula and doing all this stuff, and yeah, the alcohol bill. I remember uh, they was telling us it was 2,700 because when we was next day, Michael Waltrip came in to join us for lunch inside the facilities, and he said, "Let me see if the dark crew have a fun last night." And he went down there because we had two or three of his drivers with us that was driving some of his cars. Michael Waltrip had many different types of cars for many kinds of tracks. Him and his brother Michael Waltrip. Michael was upstairs. Michael was Chevrolet, and of course Michael Waltrip was with Toyota, and Daryl Waltrip was with Chevrolet. And anyhow, he came down and he read. He said, "Let me see here." He said, "Oh, you guys went to my favorite restaurant. It's Kobe restaurant, Kobe beef. We went to Kobe's in Cornelius." And so he said, "Oh, you guys had a lot of." Oh, he said, "I know you had fun. The alcohol was $2,700." Yeah, when the drinks are on the house, I mean, we did our share. You don't have to have alcohol to have fun. No, I've had so much fun in my life without any alcohol. But I was blessed with a big old Irish liver and a big belly to hold that big liver. That's like slapping a pig. Listen to that. Yeah, uh, I'm in danger. Yeah. I'm like you now, Rocket Queen. I have my likes and dislikes. And but I've been following NASCAR now, really following it. Not just. I mean, I've been actively involved with NASCAR. I have so much stuff NASCAR. It over 50 years. In fact, I got sued by NASCAR. Oh yeah, because I posted NASCAR proprietary information. But the lawsuit didn't go very far because Michael Waltrip took ownership of my statements, and it all went away. Uh, Train's pulling out of the station. It's gone. Uh, yeah, Michael Waltrip. He took care of it. We posted some proprietary information inside of NASCAR, and they've got what they call these are written agreements. They take your freedom away from you when you're inside of the NASCAR. They control all of the information inside of NASCAR. It's a dynasty, and they don't want nothing out that is disparaging. But I was a civilian, and even though I was tied in with NASCAR through Michael Waltrip, anyhow, it worked out good. Yeah, that's it. Non-disclosure agreement. That's it. Oh, we had so much fun. We did a lot of stuff. Uh, Here's what happened. There's a company called OCC, Orange County Chopper, right? So anything that happened with Micro Waltrip Industry, his racing empire, they had sent us an invite to it. So we was invited to go to when they made Micro Waltrip a Napa motorcycle for the see, Napa was the sponsor for Michael Waltrip, number 55 car, the Napa car. And they made a Harley Davidson for Michael Waltrip, and they presented it to him at Max, M-A-C, Max in Cornelius, North Carolina. 25,000 bikers showed up. 25,000 bikers from all up and down the East Coast to Max there at Cornelius. And old Mac here was running the camera, and we had a great time. Oh, but I mean, we was treated with royalty. Yeah, we had a lot of good time. Our relationship came to an end when Michael Waltrip had some issues there, and he had to give up his toy. There was a divorce took place. I think Michael had been looking for love in all the wrong places, and his woman. I don't know. I don't know the story there. I am not going to spread no rumors, but Michael he had to go his separate way, and when he did, she took the major portion of his assets. So he ain't sleeping under a bridge. He's all right. He hung in real good with Fox News, Fox Sports. He was a color commentary running up and down, getting interviews and stuff. So he's all right. He's not suffering, and it's that's just the way things go sometimes. He landed good on his feet, and we're still alive too. Yeah, he's a big old boy now. He's a big old boy. I've got a picture of me and him standing together, and I'm gonna tell you, if I turned to the right and looked up, he, boy, he was a big boy. Man, he was a tall one. Now, his brother, I went up and did an interview with his brother because I had people that wanted me to interview Darrell Waltrip. And I did. I did a pretty in-depth interview, and of course, it's all on Facebook. I posted everything on the interview, the live interview of Darrell Waltrip, and I shared it. I'd spent a lot of time on Facebook, and so I did a lot of video stuff with them. Dick Trickle. Yeah, there's a good name right there, Dick Trickle. Yep. Yeah, I watched a follow-up story years after Dick Trickle had left. They went through his racing stable of all the cars and stuff he's got in there. My God, he'd stored away a lot of stuff. It's history of NASCAR. These guys go out there and running door handle to door handle at over 200 miles per hour. Yeah, going down the drag strip, if you got a car that can hit 200 miles per hour, that's a blast. I mean, it's a thrill, but it's all over with in 6 seconds. 6 or 7 seconds, it's done. When you spend 2.5 hours in the car at door handle to door handle, and with 42 other people above you, beside you, below you, in front of you, and back of you, pushing and shoving, and everybody wanting to be the champion that day. It's a competitive sport, and people badmouth the drivers about things that they say. You come out of an environment of war on the track against your competitors, and your own teammate sometimes causes drama, or you could get caught up in your teammates' drama. And they may, when they get in front of a camera, they may say some things they wish they didn't say. Oh my god, you played poker. I'm going back reading some, oh, yeah, you know, back in the '70s, we used to have fondue parties. I was a friend since I was in aviation. I spent a lot of time with military and civilian pilots. Uh, I had I had people that used to fly for an organization called Aero America. Aero America was a company sponsored and owned by the CIA, Aero America. And I had friends that flew commercial aircraft that flew for Aero America. They could pick them up some bucks. And I had a friend that he flew for Alaskan Airlines. And when he'd do Aero American flights, he would bring us back Thai stick from Thailand. I mean, he would bring us back black tar heroin. he, because he didn't have to go through customs. You know, he'd bring stuff back, and we'd wait for him. He'd call me. He lived out in Enumclaw, and his wife or somebody would call me. The party was on, man. We'd go over there, and golly, what a life we had back in them days. I wish I could remember. Uh, wow, Tucko Micro, yeah. He, a generous person, but he's also, you know, he works hard for what he had. Uh, None of that racing thing is, they make it look easy, but the amount of stress that each week, your short tracks, your medium-sized tracks, your super tracks, and all the variables. And then they started adding in the fans demanded the fans that 184 miles per hour. That's cool. The fans demanded that they would get an oval track or you know a road course and all that stuff, and that means the driver then had to step it up a notch. He had to be not only good at going left-hand turns, but he had to be able to do right-hand turns. He had to be able to brake, you know, for the hairpin turns and the right steering control. And so they had to, it separated the men from the boys when you got on the road course. And we followed them through the road course days. And almost all the tracks, even little tracks. See, back in the '50s, they had tracks up in the Carolinas that was, you know, not Rockingham, but oh, I wish I could remember some of the names of the little tracks. When we were stationed over there, we went to a lot of tracks that don't exist anymore. Old NASCAR tracks. I got a racetrack right over here, just 1 mile from me, and they was running really, really, really good, and then they got a person killed over there. He got killed. And then the government stepped in and I went over and interviewed the guy. I met him. Um, he would let me fly my drone during the race when he was racing. I'd go out there and hover, and they would go under me, and then I would follow them, and you know, just do stuff with the drone. And then when the boy got killed, all the investigators come in, and uh, I don't know how long they're gonna have to be closed down, but they run a lot of good cars over there, and he's a good guy. his brother, his brother was coming home from somewhere with his dog, and some drug, some kind of a drug deal that went bad. The guy was driving the same Ford pickup, same kind of Ford he had, ran him off the road. He said, "Man, I don't know what you're talking about." Anyhow, they killed him. and burned him and his dog up in the truck. That was his brother, and they were just like that, man. It's like remind me of when me and my brother were so close, and that really took a lot out of him too, because he couldn't devote a lot of time because he spent the next 10 years trying to track down the people that had killed his brother. Killed him over here just a mile from my house. That's what drugs will do to you. Now, I'm gonna tell you, we live in the woods, and right across the street, you see when I ride my motorcycle, you see my neighborhood. Their boy got involved with MS-13. It was he wasn't MS-13, remember? The byproduct of the material they was running. Somehow, something went bad, and they peeled him. I don't know if any, unless you've been in prison, you may not be familiar with the term of peeling you. That's where they take the skin off your body. They peeled him, and it wasn't a pretty way of going. So we have things that happens out here in the wood. This is a dumping ground for the bodies of the different crimes. Like they come out of Birmingham and they get caught up in drug deals. Over here, we have a little creek called Sullivan Creek. It's a quarter of a mile from my house. They've dumped people over there, been shot multiple times. Yeah, you'd think, oh, sweet little old Alabama. How could anything go wrong? Or there's drugs, anything can go wrong. The dealing in drugs. I'm not talking about consumption of drugs. That's a different story altogether. Wow, got a racetrack there. That's cool. Oh, the Mario Kart. Oh, have you ever been in a race car simulator? Oh man, I have a friend. He's deceased now. His son developed and built simulators, and these are the high. We're talking about $100,000 simulators. They're not the little toy ones, and they got brakes, gas. They got gear shifting, all that stuff. They got seats that shake, seats that goes up and down. You got a wrap around screen like looking out your windscreen. And he built them in Gadsden, Alabama. Well, the building was somewhere else, but the guy that was the engineer that designed and developed them lived in Gadsden, Alabama, and they're high dollar stuff. I'd like to have one of them. Well, guys, it's partners. That's sweet sorrow. I've wore people out. That we had 12 and we're down to 7 now. So, and I refer to that 7 right there as hardcore 7. You know, uh, you can only take you have to take Old Mac in a small dose. You can get Old Mac overload. Too much of a story. Pretty soon you begin to go, oh man, I remember when I used to listen to my grandpa talk for days. So I promised Angelique that we would fix lunch around 1. Well, it's 1:15. We're going to be off just a little bit. Hello, Mark. Hope life is good for you. And Carney, look at Carney's in here too. We got 2 of the good ones right there. Not that you guys and girls are not good, but um, I tip my hat to a lot of people. Peeling is uh, that is, oh, it's an art to it. You can make a person hurt for a long time. I got a feeling that actor, Liam Neeson, I believe he would know how to peel somebody. You know, Liam Neeson, I have 1,000 ways to hurt you. Well, Carney, you got here just about the time that I was going to have to say goodbye because I heard Angelique. I heard her hoofs coming down the hallway. I thought she was going to come in here and shout at me, but she diverted. I heard her little old hoofs going down that way. So she's off over there somewhere. This house is a big rambling house, and I can hear her hooves all over this house. She's got upstairs. I can hear her hooves, just all up in there, And but I did make her a promise I would fix her a Sunday dinner, and so let me say good evening to all you fine folks that spent some time, and God bless my baby sister Connie. I have loved her all of her life. She don't know how much I have loved her, but I remember the day she was born. So let it be known to this day that I love my baby sister Connie. God bless. Goodbye. So long. Sayonara. We're out of here.